Well, good afternoon. I'm here with the Minister, and I can confirm that I had a constructive call with President Trump yesterday, in which I congratulated him and Vice President Pence on their inauguration. The President and I acknowledged the already strong and deep relationship between the United States and Australia, and committed to making it stronger still. We also recommitted our common determination, our united purpose in defeating ISIL, which continues to have an impact, a dangerous terrorist impact, not just in the Middle East, but right around the world, including in our own countries. We discussed the importance of border security and the threat of illegal and irregular migration, and recognised that it is vital that every nation is able to control who comes across its borders. And we discussed the very principles that I raised at the United Nations last year, when I made the point there that our strong border protection, which the coalition government, under the leadership of PM Abbott in 2013, continued under my government and enhanced under my government. Our strong border protection gives Australians confidence in the immigration system, gives them confidence in our humanitarian programs, underpins the commitment to ours, the most successful multicultural society in the world. We also discussed the resettlement arrangement of refugees from Nauru and Manus, which had been entered into with the previous administration, and I thank President Trump for his commitment to honour that existing agreement.
Prime Minister, are you able to give us any more details on the nature of the agreement now under President Trump? How many will go and when they will go?
No, the agreement, we're not providing any more details about the agreement than we have to date, but I can, that you would understand that, and Peter can say some more about this, but the US officials have been on Nauru. The acceptance of any individual by the United States officials into their refugee program is a matter for the government of the United States and for their own security screening, which is very rigorous, just as our screening is very rigorous for refugees that we accept into Australia. So this is a matter that is entirely in the hands of the United States government's agencies.
Prime Minister, there is part of the Mr Trump's changes were a suspension of any refugee intake into the US for a few months. So at the very least, does that mean that the Australian agreement is on hold for those months while that suspension is in place?
Well, the President is committed to honour the existing arrangement, but the screening processes, as again Peter may elaborate, are very thorough and take some time.
But they've already been done, have they not?
I'll just add to that.
Process.
So there have been people, obviously US officials, up on Nauru, and there have been conversations, exchange of information otherwise between those officials and officials within my department. So that will take some time, because obviously the US, rightly under the existing arrangement, both signed off on by President Obama and now adopted by President Trump. Under that arrangement, there is the ability for the US to conduct those rigorous tests and then ultimately to have the final say, as is obviously appropriately the case, as to who will eventually end up in the US. So that will take some time. We predicted that at the time. I want to be very clear, though, today to people smugglers and people who would seek to exploit this announcement into an opportunity to put more people on the boats, that the government's resolve remains as strong as it's ever been. We have had a tougher stance through additional assets at sea and in the air over recent months since the original announcement. That posture has continued, and we are aware of people smugglers trying to pitch to people to pay money to hop onto boats so that they can eventually end up in the US. So the very strong message today to people smugglers, to advocates here that would be telling people not to take up this deal, is that the resolve of this government has not diminished at all, and in fact the resolve of both the Prime Minister and myself to make sure that we can get people off Manus and Nauru that Labor put onto those islands. We want to do that as quickly as possible. We've been able to close detention centres and get all of the children out of detention, and we are not going to allow that success to be undermined by ruthless people smugglers.
Will you be undertaking an assessment of the Trump executive order, particularly in regard to Australians who are dual nationals, going to the US for business or for tourism or students? Is there a need for an assessment of how that policy may impact on Australians?
Well, as the Foreign Minister's spokesman said this morning, our embassy is engaging with US officials on this subject, but at this stage the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade has not received any requests for consular assistance from Australians unable to board transport to the United States.
Do you agree with the terms of that executive order?
Sorry,
Do you agree with the terms of that executive order as it affects dual citizens?
well, Michelle, we don't, as I said, we have not seen any cases of it so doing. If cases do arise, then we will take them up with we will take them up with the government, and the Foreign Minister's spokesman has said that already. Can I just say to you, though, it is not my job as Prime Minister of Australia to run a commentary on the domestic policies of other countries. So we have here in Australia border security arrangements which are the envy of the world. And I know this from when I was at the UN in September. I can tell you, leader after leader spoke to me about how much they admired the security, the intelligence-based security systems we have on our border to keep Australians safe and to keep terrorists out of Australia. Now, we've got very strong systems. That is a fact. And so we're proud of those, and we'll maintain them, and where we can, we will enhance them. And we will, if others wish to emulate what we're doing, they're welcome to do so. But I am not about to run a commentary on other countries' practices.
Mr. Turnbull, other leaders, Western leaders, have taken issue with that executive order. You don't find it discriminatory? And secondly, in your conversation with President Trump, did you mention the Trans-Pacific Partnership?
Look, our rules, our laws, our values are very well known. Our commitment to multiculturalism, our commitment to a non-discriminatory immigration program is well known. I spoke about it at some length just last week on Australia Day. So that's where we stand. That's our policy, but our borders are secure. That is the bottom line. Our borders are secure. We are not complacent. Peter Dutton is constantly looking at how we can enhance our security. We recognise there are real threats, and we're determined to keep Australians safe. Peter, do you want to add to that?
Yeah.
So
Did the TPP come up in the phone call yesterday?
The TPP was not discussed yesterday. No, I've discussed that with Mr. Trump earlier.
Prime Minister, Anthony Mundine says he won't be standing for the Australian national anthem because it's racist. What do you say to Anthony Mundine?
Well, I don't agree with him. That our national anthem unites all Australians. From our first Australians to the newest baby in the arms of a migrant mother. It unites all Australians. I disagree with Mr. Mundine.
Prime Minister, you say that you don't want to comment on US domestic policy, but this policy is affecting Australians. born from those 7 countries who don't know what to do, who don't know what would happen if they travelled to the United States as law-abiding Australian citizens. What's your message to them?
Well, our message is, as I said earlier, if those issues arise in respect of Australian citizens, we will and we are taking up that issue with the administration. And that is, but can I just say to you, we have a very close relationship with the United States. And when we want to engage in discussions of this kind, we do so privately and frankly.
Prime Minister, did you discuss the South China Sea at all with the President and some of the things that were said during the hearings which might suggest that they might blockade the South China Sea? Did the South China Sea come up at all, and what was said on that?
Regional security was discussed, and all of the issues relating to regional security have been discussed between myself and the President, either on this occasion or on the previous occasion we spoke. But the engagement between my government, my ministers, and the new administration is very extensive, and it goes well beyond the discussions between the 2 leaders.
Prime Minister, is the renewable energy target safe for governments?
The renewable energy target is about 18 months old. It was restructured under the government of my predecessor, Mr Abbott, and as a consequence of that, as he said at the time, it created certainty for investment in the renewables energy space. We're committed to the renewable energy target as restructured at the time, and it will not be changed. It was as he said it, as Mr Abbott said at the time, it was a great effort by the ministers, the Minister for Industry and the Minister for Environment at the time. Much of it received bipartisan support, but the important thing was that it restored certainty to the industry, and it's very important that that certainty be maintained, and there are many other issues relating to renewables, but the renewable energy target as restructured under my predecessor is in effect only 18 months old. Thank you.